You're tuning into the High Performance Path podcast, and I'm your host, Alex. If you want to increase your productivity, enhance your mental performance, hack your sleep, and build a bulletproof body, then you're in the right place. Get ready as we dive into interviews with performance coaches, business owners, and health professionals to find out their daily routines, habits, and movement practices. All right, let's go. Welcome back, listeners. So today's guest, I've got another newie local, Damien Cooper. So we're going to start off with something that I've only done once on the podcast, but I want to actually try it again. I want to bring it back, and I want to actually bring it. I want to start doing it more often, and it might actually become its own segment soon. But we'll see how we go. So if you guys listening ended up listening to the podcast I did with Nerida Bint from Lasom, I played a card game with her at the start of it. It's not Uno. It's not Go Fish. It's a card game that involves questions. It's not a drinking game either. But so we're going to start off with 10 questions with Damien Cooper. We're going to start off with 10 random questions out of this card game, out of this deck of cards that I have. I'm just shuffling them at the moment. And then this is going to be a good way. This is going to be a good intro for the guests to get to know about you. And then after this game, I'll get you to talk about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and all that. So
it's called Icebreaker.
Yeah. So it's by a company called Best Self.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they
Yeah, I have. Do they do books and stuff?
yeah. So they
Books and journals and
they have templated journals
yeah.
for like goal setting and just like
Yeah, it looks like they produce some
routines.
cool stuff.
Yeah, and one of the products they have is they have decks of cards, and this one is called the Icebreaker deck. So first off, this isn't pay. I'm not paid by these guys at all. I just think it's a cool thing to do. But it's called the Icebreaker deck. It's basically each question. There's I think 6 different categories, and each question is just a prompt that's it prompts meaningful conversations, like deep conversations, rather than superficial stuff. So I think it's just it's a cool way to kind of get to know someone.
Well, what better way to start?
Yeah. So let's crack on. What I'll
awesome.
do, I'll get you to. No, actually, I'll pick them and I'll just read them.
Yeah.
And I'll get you to answer them. So
right.
we're going to go for 10.
Lay it on me.
All right, first one. So this is the category life. What do the first 30 minutes of your typical day look like? I really like this question.
This is great. Wake up, drink water, meditate, stretch a little, move my spine. Maybe I'll have a cup of coffee.
Awesome.
Or read a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that every morning, or does that kind of change?
That's pretty much every morning. I'll do one of those things.
Most of those things?
Yeah, most of those things, yeah. I might do them in a different order, but yeah, it's usually the first 30 minutes to an hour sometimes, yeah.
All right, next card. This is the category, if you could, ...
Okay.
If you could do anything in the next year, what would it be?
Stall the press.
Stall the press?
Stall the press, which is like, it's like a
what does that look like?
It looks like you're sitting on the ground in a straddle position, so legs are wide.
Out. Yep.
Yeah, you put your hands down.
Yep.
Push, you lift your legs up.
And you end up in a handstand.
And then you push up from this this straddle L position up into a handstand. Yeah.
You reckon you'll get that in the next year?
Are you working? I'm working towards it.
Yeah, sick. Well, I'll follow you up in a year.
Right. I'm working on eccentrics at the moment, so the down phase.
Yes.
It's ugly.
All right, this category is just random. You're at a cafe. What type of drink do you order?
Almond latte.
Almond latte.
Yeah.
Nice. I get that.
So you get
quite often. I'll just cycle between full cream and
Yeah.
Almond.
Yeah.
Random. Which famous person have you met? Have you met any famous people? Jokes. I'm not
Funny
famous.
story. When do you consider someone like Instagram famous?
When?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I remember when I've told him this story, so it doesn't matter. But when I first met Rod,
Yeah.
I kind of thought like, when you see someone on TV and you kind of feel like they're really, they're famous.
Mm.
Well, nowadays it's kind of social
It's
media a
social
little
media,
bit.
yeah.
And so I was following Rod's stuff for a while.
That's Rod Cooper,
Rod Cooper, yeah.
owner of the Movement Collective.
Yeah.
Which we're actually inside of at the moment. We're at the Movement Collective. Yeah, shout out to Movement Collective.
Yeah. And obviously Rod's one of my best mates now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean,
It's funny, you put people up on pedestals.
yeah.
But people are just people.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'm trying to think. I know it'll come back to me. I'll bring it up later. There'll be someone. But I have surfed a wave with Jack Johnson.
Oh, cool. Where was that?
How was it?
No, where was it?
Where was it? It's Byron Bay.
Yeah.
Back in 2015.
Was he living up there or something?
I think he has a house there.
Yeah.
And it was around Blues Fest, but he wasn't playing that year. He said he was just hanging out.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Fuck
He
yeah.
he didn't know that I was there. Like, I saw that he was getting on a wave. He's one of my all-time heroes, by the
Yeah.
way. Playing music, playing his.
Did you know it was him before you saw him on the wave?
Yeah, I saw him. I was like, oh, that's Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm pretty pumped to be surfing because I don't surf much.
Yep.
Out here surfing, and then Jack Johnson's in the water, like one of my heroes. My friend Anthony was there at the time, and he said, "Hey, he's like, hey mate, how you going? Like, have you you just hanging out in Byron at the moment, or are you playing music?" He's like, "No gigs at the moment, just sort of here with the family." Left him alone. Didn't want to bother him too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw he was getting on a wave, and I just paddled as hard as I could, got on there, and I was just like, "Now I got the story."
Yes. That's sick. I like it. All right, next card. This category is experiences.
All right.
Who was your first love and when? This is pretty deep.
Oh, it's pretty deep.
Now I don't know what like a lot
It's
of people.
probably my
Let's just-
girlfriend at the start of uni.
Yeah.
Alicia, who is still one of my good friends to this day.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, really, really awesome person. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Next category: life. What book has made the biggest impact on your life? I should make some of these actual standard just questions. In the podcast that I ask everyone.
Definitely take a photo of these like all together.
Mm.
I think that'd be good to know which ones. But Mastery.
Mastery, is that by Robert Greene?
Yeah,
Sick. I haven't read that yet.
incredible
It's
book.
worth it. It's on my list to read.
Yeah, I think. It's one of those books where
Is it big?
it's pretty thick. I think
Yeah.
it's.
A lot of his books are quite big.
Yeah.
I think I listened to The Laws of Human Nature,
That's huge.
and that was about I think that's the biggest audiobook I've listened to.
27 hours or something?
Yeah, 27 or 28 hours.
Yeah.
That was a mission to get through.
It's big, man. It's very engaging.
I
though.
really liked it,
He's
though.
got a great writing style.
Yeah.
Super easy to digest.
Yeah.
Mastery came at a really nice point in my life, 2017, the end of 2017, when I was sort of just on the back end of finishing osteo at uni. And I was kind of figuring out how all these pieces of my life were going to fit and move forward. And that's what Mastery really does. It gives you a perspective of how other people have lived and the experiences that they went through and the different types of intelligence you can have and how all different sort of eclectic parts of your life, different kinds of things blend and they shape you becoming a master in a particular or multiple different fields.
Huh.
So for me, playing music and then loving movement and then, knowing what I know about the human body, studying osteopathy, right at that time when I was finishing and trying to figure out what to do, I got that book,
Huh.
and it really I listened to it. I've listened to it 7 times, I think.
Wow.
So it was audio. It was an audio book when I
Yep.
got it, but I've bought the
Mm.
paper book now because it's such a great reference,
Yeah.
and it's almost just like a life
Cool.
textbook.
So that came at a really good time in your
Yeah.
life when you first read it.
Yeah,
That's good. I think that's also good.
timing.
I think it's important to have either a few authors or a few books that you revisit like every, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in your life,
Mm.
because there's certain books that are just so good that they're worth
Yeah.
just revisiting all the time. And you, every time, 2 or 3 years later, you can get something different out of a book that you missed, or you may have been at a part of your life which wasn't really relevant to the things in the book, or maybe the things in the book that you learnt about, you weren't in the right period of your life to actually put them into practice.
Mm.
So maybe they didn't sink in. But yeah, there's definitely, because I've read a lot of books, and I've just started to revisit books this year rather than try to read more different books and just read more of different things. I've started to revisit older books because I know
Right.
there's heaps of great books that I've read that I've only read once,
Yeah.
and I know that certain books
Have
there's
a
more
lot
to
to
there's
offer.
more to unpack, or
Yeah.
there's stuff that I've forgotten or would have missed from
Yeah.
reading it once.
Well,
With
it's kind of like that. It's kind of like the idea of, I think it was Bruce Lee that said, "I fear not the man who has done 10,000 kicks, but done one kick 10,000 times."
yes,
And like a book, it can be like that.
Mm.
You read one book once, like that's awesome, but go back through, study it, like apply it, reapply it, recap, talk about, integrate, and that's really that's really, really a underutilized approach.
I want to actually, you brought up the combination of your passion for music and your passion for movement.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that a bit later on in the podcast because I think that's quite interesting. But for now, let's move on and get through these 10 questions.
All right, let's get them done. Let's get them done.
So this is the category deep. One of the categories is deep.
Okay,
So
all
these
right.
are pretty deep. What stereotype do you completely live up to?
Stereotype. I definitely overfill my plate a lot. So
What, of being like a productive person, I guess?
yeah, trying to bite off more than I can chew.
Mm.
I don't know what that stereotype would be.
What do you mean, like with goals and just everything?
Yeah, like maybe growth mindset
Yeah, okay.
to a point that it's borderline
Ne-
goes the other
negatively
way.
impacts. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally
But
get
I've
ya.
tried to wind it back now.
I totally get ya.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like there's a fine line
Mm.
where you can cram so much in and get so much good stuff done and be really productive. Then if you cross that line, you're like flirting with over overtraining, or not overtraining but burnout.
Yeah.
Like you're balancing that fine line of burning out but
Yeah.
not.
And I think
I think there's
maybe
an art to it.
I think you also spoke about like the hedonistic. No, what is it? This hedonistic
Yes,
cycle?
the hedonistic treadmill.
Treadmill, right?
Yeah.
And like you can get stuck on that as well.
Yes.
So you can be, that's one side of the coin, and then the other side's do nothing.
Do nothing and don't improve and
yeah.
don't move or
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. And so there's a balance between contentment and pushing yourself really hard.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Yep.
I'm going to give these
Next
a quick
card.
shuffle because there's a lot of deep ones on the top of that pile.
Yeah.
What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4,
I wonder
5,
if like
6, 7.
how many is there? 6 segments? 6 sections?
6 categories, I think. Yeah.
It'd be cool if the like going forward you go you always have to pick one from each category,
yeah,
and then you can
yeah.
pick, like I would pick before the podcast, or I want 2 of these, 2
Yep.
of those, 2 of those, 2 of
Oh
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a good idea. Well, there's a few different ways that I have played this. because it doesn't really come with any rules. There is no rules. You
Yeah.
just pick a card and you do what it says. So
All right.
I've done this one-on-one. I've done it with group as well. But yeah, it's good. Let's get to the next one. So the
Yeah.
next category, if you could,
Yeah.
if you could only keep 3 things from your home, what would you pick and why?
A guitar.
This is kind of like the island question.
It'd
If you're
be
stranded on an island, what 3 things would you
a
take?
guitar,
Guitar.
set of rings
Yep.
with obviously with the straps as well.
Yep.
It's part of that set.
That counts as all together.
Oh, I want to say hammock. But I feel like I'd need like a Swiss Army knife or something.
Something more practical.
Yeah.
To hunt and cook with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go the hammock.
I'll throw the hammock on my prey.
Or you could just tie the Swiss Army knife to the hammock and it comes together.
Comes together.
Yeah, like you could. It comes as a package.
Oh, okay.
A Swiss Army hammock.
Swiss Army hammock. Yes. That is it. It's got a pocket where the Swiss Army knife lives.
All right. Next category. Would you rather? Would you rather be the star player on a losing football team or ride the bench on a winning one?
Losing football team.
Yeah, nice. You don't want to do nothing and ride the wave of success with no input or effort.
I was
That would
thinking.
feel terrible.
Yeah, There's more to that. Like I could say the other one for different reasons.
Well, what are the reasons for both?
Well, the reasons for being a star player on a losing football team is not for glory. Like I like the idea of being a good teammate, and it's nice. It's not. Yeah, sure, it is nice. Like it's nice stroke of the ego to be good at something, and even to be the best at something, but don't want to be caught up in that. It's not a good headspace to live in. But being on the bench for a winning team, you're training with that team. You are doing behind the scenes work, and being backup isn't actually such a bad thing sometimes when you know that you're playing a vital role behind the scenes, and that the team that's on the field knows that you're there if you're needed, and you can serve the team from the bench as well, just by morale. And there's so many ways you can serve by observing. It's not a passive position being on the bench.
That's a good point. That's a really interesting way to look at that. I like the way you answered that.
Oh, cool, man. Thanks, bro.
I think there's the last one.
All right.
Yeah, there's the last one. So this is experiences.
All right.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
The worst job? Oh.
And how old were you?
Well, I don't dislike any of my old jobs. I used to work at Coles. I used to be a landscaper. I used to be a chiropractic assistant, and I was a student ambassador. I would say the job that I wouldn't want to do the most moving forward is probably maybe landscaping. Like landscaping, only because, and I do actually like it in doses, but it's a slog in the Australian summer.
Yeah.
And I just would rather put my time into other things.
Yeah.
Like I left a job which was landscaping to go into music, because I felt that I was sacrificing 24 hours in a week that I could be putting towards developing the skill that I love. And that was the reason I made that choice.
That's a good answer. That's interesting. Sick. Well, that wraps up the 10 questions with